From their own 34 for the Buckeyes. Shotgun for Howard. He'll drop. Look to throw. Firing deep down the near side of the field. He's got Smith. He catches at the 30. Inside the 20. All the way down to the Irish 10. Their best player makes the biggest play of the game at the biggest time. 57 yards.
Brings tears to my eyes. Such a great call. 2024 college football season, it is done. It's now time for us to look ahead. Several of the biggest quarterbacks from this season are leaving for the NFL draft. You have guys like your national champion Will Howard, Notre Dame's Riley Leonard, other stars, Miami's Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Texas Quinn Ewers. I mean, who is going to step in and replace the guys? Well, thankfully, we have Danny Kanell here to help us out with that. Our NFL analyst ready to break it down for us. So we're going to start with the national champs and the Ohio State Buckeyes. And Will Howard is moving on, going into the NFL draft. And, you know, we saw with that move that the transfer portal does work, in fact. You know. What are the options when it comes to Ohio State? Who do you think is going to be the future quarterback there?
Probably Julian Sand. He's a young quarterback. Remember, last year at this time, he was at Alabama, and he enrolled early, but then before he got officially started in that program, he saw an opportunity at Ohio State, bounced, went there, and they have raved about him in practice up to this point. But I do caution any Ohio State fan who just thinks it's going to continue this unbelievable run of success that they've had of quarterbacks. It's not always that easy. It's not supposed to be that easy. He'll be battling with a young Tavian St. Clair, but I would expect the Buckeyes to potentially look in the portal, especially post-spring. They'll get a look at Julian Sand when things are a little bit more live, when you have your spring game. How does he fit into the system? How is he developing as a leader? If he struggles at all, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they go look for a veteran quarterback. But you know what's going to help Julian Sand a lot? Ryan Day's already looking to reload that roster. They're losing a lot, but they do have deep pockets. I think they'll go out and add some more weapons as well to a young quarterback.
Yeah, we know having deep pockets in this day and age in the transfer portal, you can kind of maybe buy a national championship. And
oh boy, Chaplin.
You kind of can. She's not wrong.
Maybe. I know.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the most talented roster, but with that, it's very expensive as well. It's just a fact. Let's talk about Miami because they went to the transfer portal to get their quarterback for next season. I'm still trying to wrap my head around seeing Carson Beck in a UM logo. And he's going the Cam Ward route, right, guys, where he is, said he was going to go to the draft, then he enters the portal, then he's going to Miami. A lot of money is out there, being thrown around. Do you think he follows in those footsteps and then, of course, maybe boosts his draft stock in terms of maybe going from a day 3 guy to the #1 potentially overall pick? Do you think we see that kind of success and that same pathway for Carson Beck?
Jacqueline, you left out one other reason why he's in Miami. His girlfriend happens to be there as well, playing basketball and influencing on social media. Here's one. There's nothing wrong with that. Exactly. There's nothing wrong with that. And to get paid to go be in love, it's even better. Here's my concerns for Carson Beck. One, the expectation is that he's going to have to go fill the shoes that Cam Ward left behind, right? Where he played so well, put the team on his back. It will look different. He's not going to be able to play the same style of play. They're going to have to put some weapons around him, which they will. Mario Cristobal has been outstanding on the recruiting trail. They do have NIL money to spend, so I think they'll put him in that position. But even a bigger question mark is, what does he look like coming off the elbow surgery that he's having this offseason? Is he going to miss the entire spring practice, which are valuable reps to get up to speed with his new team? So there are going to be a lot of question marks around the Miami Hurricanes, but I do think Carson Beck provides a floor where the season doesn't go off the rails. He's played 2 full seasons in the SEC. I would expect him to provide some stability at that position. The only question is, can he take them where Miami wants to go? And that's their first ACC championship since they've joined the ACC over 20 years ago.
So, Danny, I know you have Saturday, September 20th circled on your calendar because that's when the Florida Gators are going to play UM. Who do you think plays better, DJ Lagway or Carson Beck?
Wow.
That's
a good one. I'll trust DJ Lagway a little bit more. Yeah, I like the intangibles he showed, the skill set he showed. The tangibles actually were incredible too. DJ Lagway is going to be a reason why the Florida Gators will be a very trendy pick by some to win the entire SEC, and I think by most to make the college football playoff. The future is bright in Gainesville. As much as I hate to admit it, they did finish the season incredibly strong. Nice bowl game, Jacqueline. There is a lot of optimism in Gainesville.
I only added that question in so we can clip that and put it on put it on X and you know, send it to the Gator masses.
Yes, just don't send it to the Florida State masses.
No, maybe I will.
Talking about the wrong Florida teams here. All right, so we mentioned Carson Beck obviously coming from Georgia, now going over to Miami. So that leaves Georgia with Gunnar Stockton, which is a great option out there. He entered the SEC championship. He got his first career start in the Sugar Bowl. There's a lot of room for optimism when it comes to the Bulldogs.
There is, although, again, I push back against some of the hype gets almost unobtainable to achieve the levels of success. And even when Gunnar Stockton took over, I heard a lot of Georgia fans saying, we're not going to miss Carson Beck at all. And he played fine when he stepped in, but they still did lose that game. Now, he played good enough in the second half in the SEC championship game to beat Texas, but it's still a very young quarterback. But again, all of these quarterbacks, I think you're seeing one that's going to play with an incredible roster around him and a place that is used to winning. But they do need to give him better help with wide receivers. Carson Beck is probably like, man, if they go out and give him the same receivers I had, they were one of the worst teams as far as drops in the entire college football landscape. So there are going to be some question marks, some learning curve for Gunnar Stockton. But from everybody you talk to, the teammates love him. He's got more of a Stetson Bennett feel than a Carson Beck feel, sort of that undersized guy who's always defied the odds. And that has worked well for the Georgia Bulldogs.
Danny, you mentioned, you know, some hype that is unattainable. So, of course, that brings us to our next quarterback in Arch Manning. It is Arch Manning time there in Texas. And we saw flashes of what he can do with Quinn Ewers dealing with some injuries throughout the regular season. We know the name, we know his family, but I just wonder, is maybe the hype too much? Or people putting too much pressure on him because he is young and it would be his first full season as a starting quarterback in the SEC?
I can't remember like a young player coming in with as much hype and expectations as LeBron when he was in high school, put on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Maybe a Zion Williamson who was a YouTube sensation.
Both of those worked out pretty well.
Yeah, they did. And there have been other five-star guys like Trevor Lawrence, won a national championship. Bryce Young did not, but he was lived up to the expectations. Again, he's in a great position. That's why I love the fact that he went to play for Sark, because Steve Sarkisian has done an outstanding job with the QBs, and he's played a lot, Jacqueline, as you mentioned. 2 starts under his belt already. He's been given spot time in critical moments and come up with huge plays like this one against Texas A&M. But there's always a but. They lose Matthew Golden. They lose Isaiah Bond. They lose their left tackle, Kelvin Banks. They're losing Jaden Blue in the backfield, not to mention an offensive line, which is going to be reworked. I think there will be some growing pains, but I am not that concerned about Arch Manning. It's similar to sort of Carson Beck. I think there's a floor that you know they're going to be really good. The question is, can Arch Manning be the quarterback that takes them to a national championship? And I would caution against expecting that in year 1. I wouldn't be surprised either if Arch Manning comes back for another year. That's the year when I think could be really special for the Longhorns.
So we saw, it's weird, we saw Arch and Quinn Ewers in the Heisman conversation at one point this season, but our producer Jack is saying that Nussmeier is actually the Heisman favorite here.
Stockton's also in there in that conversation as well.
You know who I like from a value standpoint? Cade Klubnik.
Okay.
This will be his 3rd year as the starter. Really came a long way since a rough game in the first one. Playing against the ACC schedule kind of helps. Garrett Nussmeier is interesting because he's come with a lot of experience. If he can eliminate some of his interceptions on the big stage, he could be pretty good value too.
Danny Kanell getting us ready for 2025.
Never too early.
It's never too early. I mean, all of the action, it's happening right now. So we appreciate you, Danny. We got lots to talk about when it comes to college football, even though the season has ended. I can't believe the season's officially over, but our guys on the Cover 3, they have so much to catch you up on as far as the end of the season and what to expect this offseason. It is a constant carousel of moving pieces when it comes to college football.